All right. Meltdowns, screaming, fighting, chaos in the home. Have you ever experienced that with your kids, with your little ones? It seems like all day long, that's what you're doing, is like correcting and pulling them apart from fights and putting them in timeout and all that. It gets a little bit crazy. So I have some great tips for you again here today with another amazing parent coach, Adrienne Bishop. My name is Dale Ecuyer, and I help families create health and harmony using holistic mental wellness solutions. And Adrienne, she's a certified positive discipline parent educator and life coach who specializes in helping overwhelmed parents become more confident and effective in parenting. So we want to share with you a really powerful story of one of Adrienne's clients, which is going to, I think, really hit home with a lot of you. And the main message that we want to bring is that it's possible for things to change. And that's what Adrienne was just telling me. Like, her client was like in tears, like describing how different the whole family is right now from the information and the guidance that she received from Adrienne. So thank you so much for being with me here today. Let us know, like, what was going on. Like, this parent kind of reached out. She was at her wit's end. And describe like what was going on.
Yeah. So actually she reached out to me in December, and pretty much through the whole consult we first talked, she was crying. It was a lot of tears, a lot of overwhelm. She kept mentioning her kids were out of control. So she had 3 little ones, 1, 3, and 4. So very, very, a lot of stuff going on in the house. Like just because of the age of the kids, it's going to be a lot for her. She also was really struggling with just not knowing how to parent in the way that felt good to her. Her culture that she was in, it was a religious culture, tended toward a little more corporal punishment. And that was a huge struggle because she knew she didn't want that in her home. And so she came to me with so much conflicting ideas about how she wanted to live. And not feeling confident enough to really put all these things into place that would change her parenting, in opposition to some of the people around her. So not only was she already noticing what I'm doing isn't working with my children, but the other thing was I also have some feedback from my outside, the social interactions that I have, that the way to parent isn't the way that I want to parent. So it got very, very challenging for her, and her confidence level was completely in the trash. Like, there was no confidence. She felt very much like she was at the mercy of her kids' behavior. So what was going on was the 4-year-old was one of the biggest challenges. And the 4-year-old had been put in timeouts, had some spanking. And so that was how she had originally parented her since she was her first. And she noticed that it was creating worse behavior, which some of us have probably understand. And so when she started to try to implement a little more positive parenting, take away the spanking, take away some of the punitive punishment, she actually, like, her behavior kind of, she just got to the point where she was like, well, when she's acting out, I don't know what to do, because the only thing I know what to do has been taken away. I don't, like, there's no tools left for me. So when her daughter what she would do is, like, she would be cooking dinner and her daughter would be in, like, the china cabinet trying to take out some, glass vase and, threatening to throw it, threatening to break things, going into, she did these silly things like licking the water bottle in the house and, like, running around making funny noises. Hitting her brothers was another one. She would just go up to her brothers and just smack them down, and the 3 and 1-year-old, and anything she could do to get her mom's attention was what this child was doing. Tons of, like, silliness, potty talk. It was overwhelming for the mom. Like, literally, she just didn't even know where to start because she couldn't get anything done.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. She couldn't get anything done. But I just have one question. Was she parented that way with, corporal punishment? Like,
yeah.
She was. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's another breaking the cycle. Okay, go on. This is so good. Amazing.
Yeah. So there was a lot of, like, the idea that if you don't, this is what she would say, if you don't, like, teach your child by the age of 5 how to obey and actually get them to obey without a problem, then your child is going to overtake you and never listen and never cooperate and be some, a teenager that gets into drugs and whatever else. So she had this story in her head that she had to get her kids, in line by age 5. And as you can see, 4, 3, and 1, she was getting there. And so the panic was starting, the information around her wasn't working. And so there was, one of the biggest things was she was like, I need to just cook. I can't even cook. I can't even make lunch because her daughter was getting into everything. It was, and like when she would take it away or when she would instruct her and correct her, it was screaming tantrums. And so what we did was we worked specifically on some of the ways that she viewed her child's behavior, because in that, beginning stage, she was thinking to herself that her child was just defiant, oppositional, and there was something really wrong, right? And so when you come at it that way, you're just going to want to make the behavior stop and never really understand why it's happening, address the cause of it. And then you just triage it, right? You're just like trying to get through every day and nothing changes. And on top of it, she was noticing that when she did give her daughter timeouts, which she was still doing while we were working together sometimes because she didn't know what else to do, which I don't recommend, but she just had to like do something. It would make things so much worse. She would start kicking down doors. She would, be violent wherever she was. She would kick her mom, and it just made things worse. So she knew that wasn't working, but it was just like, what the heck? Like, why? What do I do now? And so the key to when we changed her thinking about the behavior was actually had to do with her religious situation. She believed at one point in our coaching that God thought that, innately we're all bad. And then we need to prove our goodness to him. So once we uncovered that as one of the issues, she also applied that to her kids. Her kids are innately bad and she has to teach them how to be good. Wow. So when she had that thought, she was using fear-based parenting. And so it took her a while to kind of come around to the idea that, God actually thinks you're worthy and you're good just because you are in existence. He wants to love you and be with you and help you because he made you, right? So she came to that thought. And even if you're not a religious person, you could still have similar thoughts that are, getting in your way. Like maybe you just kind of think there's something wrong with your child. Like they shouldn't be acting this way. And I need to fix it now, right? Otherwise they're going to turn into like drug addicts. There's lots of things that people can think that are similar to that. But when she figured out like, oh my gosh, my kids are whole and perfect just as they are. And by me parenting them this way, I'm actually creating more problems. And her seeing them as good and whole people and seeing them as wanting to be good, but just not having the skill actually just opened up all of the, be able to release all of those negative thoughts she was having about her child. And then she was able to connect and actually enjoy her 4-year-old and see the positive side of what her 4-year-old was doing. And enjoy her to the point where she was able to have special time, create, carve out this time to just be with her daughter, snuggle with her when she was having issues, when she was, having emotional meltdowns. She learned how to, be there for her in the way the daughter needed on a regular basis. So we intentionally worked on her connecting. And once she implemented that, plus adding in some other tools that were a way to speak to your child that reduce resistance and get more cooperation. So we added some different ways for her to talk to her child to get her to cooperate, and the connection piece and the encouragement piece. It was almost like it was magic. The connection was what her daughter wanted the whole time, right? So all of these attention getting behaviors was literally, she just wanted her mom to connect with her. And once she was able to do that in an authentic way, because her thoughts were changed, a lot of the behaviors just resolved.
I mean, it's true. Like children, the bottom line is they want connection and they want interaction. They want to know that they're heard. So just in and of itself, just spending, even if it's 10 minutes of like one-on-one time, total connection, eye contact, that can go a long way. That could buy you another couple of hours of them independently playing, just having that time. Like it's amazing. I would notice that as well. And then something else you said about the label. If you're looking at your kid and thinking that there's something wrong with them, just that whole feeling and your whole thought process of that
Mhm.
is going to be is going to come through whether you say it or not. And then also you're probably coming back to yourself, like, what did I do wrong that there's something
Mhm.
wrong with my kid? So that's a
Oh, yeah.
whole nother layer that
Yes.
needs to be uncovered and needs to be articulated and understood and become aware of, so that you
Yes.
can act differently.
Right. And one of her prominent thoughts, I just looked back at her notes, was I'm failing as a parent. I must be
Mhm.
failing as a parent. And just to kind of bring it to today, where after we're almost done with the length I usually do, we're almost to the end of that. She literally says to me that she, her way of thinking about her kids has changed so drastically that she's noticing that all of the behaviors that she actually has any sort of influence over have completely dissolved. And she's noticing that there might be one or two sensory issues that she needs to reach out to get help for. And she said before we worked together, she would have like literally panicked, and it would have been crushing to think that her daughter might have a diagnosis that she might need to get extra help for. But she says now she's totally fine. She feels confident that she can learn whatever she needs to learn to help her. And she loves her and cares for her and appreciates her for who she is, and doesn't want to change her and doesn't feel that need, because she has completely, emotionally detached from the need for her daughter to be a certain way. And it's been like a 180. And she just says, yeah, if she has a diagnosis, I am totally fine, which I don't think would have been the case, a couple weeks ago when we started working together. And so I just noticed the shift in energy. It was insane. When we first started calls, it was every single call was crying. Probably 5 or 6 of them were crying. And then now it's like, she's just like smiling and, her head's held high. Her energy is completely different. We almost don't even talk about parenting anymore as much. We talk about her productivity and what she wants to do with her life. She wants to be a missionary, and she wants to, just organize her everyday life much better. So she's going even above and beyond concerns about parenting. She said she enjoys hanging out with her daughter. She has a good time with her. And, she's just like, I know I can figure it out now. Whereas, even if it's something comes up, she's like, it's totally fine.
So you started working with them in December. Is that what you said?
Actually, she reached out to me in December and was nervous about investing in time and money. And then in January, she goes, I figured it out. I need this. So it started in January is when we actually started working together. But her like, she just knew this was the next step for her, because she wanted to also change her thinking around just how she felt with her children, which was the most important thing to her. And that's my main, the main way I work with my parents is I really focus on that. And she knew that she was in something called victim mentality. I don't know if you've heard that term, but she was always feeling bad for herself that she had to like deal with these challenges, and felt like she was stuck and didn't have a choice. And that was one of the main things we worked on. She even said like she didn't know if she really wanted kids at one point, and now she had 3 little, and she felt very like no control, right? There was no choice there in the matter. Her life was just what it was. And she, didn't choose it in a sense. So we worked really, really hard on that. And she's like gotten to the point where she's very, very content with what's happening in her life and with her kids. And is able to, to even do more with her life in the church and involve herself more in the way she wants to, and working on other things.
And it'll be interesting to see like what the other people that still are practicing those old ways, it'll be interesting to see their response, and so perhaps she can make an impact in that way.
Yes. So
huge.
Yes. So we have talked about that a lot. She has been much braver in bringing things up, to people in her culture, and showing them like how things have worked out for her in the way of how she's changing her parenting. And and her husband is on board, and he might even be at a certain level in the church. He might be moving up levels, I guess. I'm not sure what that means, but they're going to have a really big impact on the community.
Talk about the ripple effect.
Yes. It's really exciting. I'm really excited for her and how things have changed, and how she's realized how she wants to impact. And, she wanted to be a missionary, but now she's thinking, I'm going to be a missionary for these people and for the people around me.
A missionary for the children.
Yes, exactly.
How different their lives will be if this parenting is implemented across the board. Like, Wow.
Yeah,
That is amazing.
yeah, it would really be a big
Sometimes
deal.
we have this thing, it's like us against them, you know.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? The parents against the kids. It's like not supposed to be that way
I know,
at
I know.
all. But it's a matter of learning the strategies, the mindset, parenting yourself, being aware of your stuff
Totally.
that you're, and the way you were parented and how you're bringing that over. Like it's really, it can be pretty complicated, but once you understand it and understand yourself, it's like the world is wide open and the joy just comes flowing in like it's supposed to. And the
Right.
harmony in the home. Like I think people don't, they think it's normal. You know what I mean? Like they think it's normal. It's like, no.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Not,
a lot of, yeah, there's a lot of thought processes that are kind of encouraged by our culture. One of them is like, my kids are just a pain, right? Like I want them kind of to, like the idea of is like, oh, I just need a break. I just need a break from my kids. And that we're just used to hearing things like that and the complaining. And of course, like you can complain to your friend if it feels, helps you feel a little better and vent. But then we need to move forward. We need to move past that in order to like actually enjoy our family life. I mean, it is 24/7 and, even past 18, we're still going to have kids. So like, we want to make sure that we're enjoying it as much as we possibly can and having the confidence and the tools and the way, the mindset. It just changes not only your parenting, but like I said, like now you have energy to pursue other things in your life, whereas before it might not have been as easy.
Yeah, I think that the society kind of sets it up this way because we are such in a society of convenience and what's easy.
Yeah.
And there is not one thing that's easy about raising a child. Like not one thing that's convenient. And it's a matter of kind of like surrendering and just being like, okay, this is the way it is right now. And I'm going to put all my attention and I'm going to learn all the skills I can to make this, nice. Like it shouldn't be this turmoil, conflict all the time at all.
No,
So,
and even the seeking of the ease actually causes more suffering in the end for you. And it's hard to see that because it feels easy to, again, just avoid maybe dealing with it. But then it actually in the end ends up being more challenging and feeling worse for you long term. So, it's definitely like the junk food culture versus the health food. It's like, well, junk food might be tasty and really fast and simple, but guess what? In the end, not a good idea, as you know.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this was great. And I hope that you'll reach out to Adrienne. I mean, it's going to cut the learning curve so much faster. Like 2 months, January, February, March, 3 months. Do you have, did she send you a written testimonial at all?
Not yet. I get one usually toward the end, but yeah.
Because I'd love to see like in her writing, but you're describing it like going from complete, utter chaos and not joyful to having confidence as a parent, feeling joyful, feeling calm, and knowing exactly what to do, which is like night and day, right? Night and day.
Yeah. I mean, this is what she said. She told me this is the last session. I used to think I was a bad parent or I was failing. And now I can take a step back and see what might be causing it. And I can see that my daughter might be non-neurotypical. I have the tools that whatever happens, I know I'll be okay. And I'll be able to learn anything I need to help her. I don't think before this, I would have been okay with an autism diagnosis. So she literally thought like her whole life was, I'm a failure. I'm never going to be able to figure this out. I'm doomed to experience challenging behaviors with my kids and be miserable.
Wow.
So that's what she said in our last coaching session. And I was, it was very, I was like, oh my gosh. Like I was like, I need to write this down because she just kind of summed it up and came to that conclusion kind of on her own. So it was amazing.
Boy, and you can't put a price on that. That is impacting that family, that child forever for the rest of their life.
Exactly.
Adrienne, thank you so much. This is so great. And
thank you.
Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. And again, Adrienne, thank you. Any last words?
Oh, no, just know that you don't have to suffer if you are. It's totally possible, as you can see, from going from horrible, miserable chaos. It's totally possible to get to a place that feels good. Even if you're in a place that feels just okay, feeling really good is worth it.